was pretty surprised to find out that Wario Land 4, the finale of the great Wario Land franchise, had appeared on the Game Boy Advance, which was a pretty marked jump in the abilities of the Game Boy from years past that I can remember. What could this team of creatives possibly have in store with such a capable device compared to their previous games that were able to accomplish Metroidvania and multiple endings in their platformers? Honestly, after finishing Wario Land 3, which felt like it took ages to collect my way through, I was looking forward to this next ROM, to say the least. The game started off really promising and going big and bold with not only an introduction, but a damn sexy one with Wario peeling out of his garage to go on another big score with a good tune from his radio that kinda shows that while it's impressive to have voice acting in a GBA game, let's just say that it wasn't the most compatible fit for such a franchise change. So the intro was setting up some big promises for Wario Land 4, which from this cutscene was basically going to be about Wario inexplicably being able to find and loot a recently discovered pyramid of gold out in the middle of the South American jungle with a cat that keeps appearing throughout the whole game. Not really sure why, it's just an alley cat, but hey, it's not hurting anybody, so I'm not gonna begrudge his little face. This is where we ran into the first major problem with Wario Land 4, whose previous games had taken players on an odyssey of varied and ridiculous locations throughout an unlocking map, but after you finish the introductory level and get to break into the actual game, you find that it isn't going to be as robust as earlier promised. You can cycle through the available levels right after beating the first boss and get sad to discover that the entire game is open from the start. 4 sections containing 4 levels, and that's it? The most blatant complaint that I have for this game is that it's too short, which I'm sure it sounds like to you, the buying public, is that isn't it the best criticism of them all? Not having enough content because it was so good? Yeah, that is true, but there comes that point where it stops being a well-meaning goof on the part of your favorite game that could have been better, and turns into a question you ask yourself, why the hell did I spend $40 on this? Considering that you could spend easily 4 to 5 hours in Wario Land 3, which was a late-day Game Boy Color game, the fact that Wario Land 4 comes packaged with only 20 levels is a near insult on the part of developers behind this project. It's a real shame, since the characteristic ingenuity and artistry of their past selves are still on full display. The basic point of the game is that Wario has to go through the hallways of the temple through a bunch of portals that teleport Wario to a set of vaguely related levels throughout the multiverse, and within those levels, Wario has to locate a key ghost to open the next level, 4 pieces of a gem to open the boss door, and a self-destruct button that activates the portal back to the hallway. Another annoyance this game has harkens back to the bad points of Wario Land 3, where the levels were designed to be more sandbox than linear, and sometimes while you're playing the game, you'll have to redo levels to find missing gem shards to get to the boss, and when it's only one piece that you were looking for hidden in some out-of-the-place location, these backtrackings feel like obligatory irritants than incorporated set pieces. The levels can get really big as well, meaning that all the development effort put into creating these awe-inspiring locations become a direct inhibitor of the player's progress as they search every block and hideaway looking for something that should have been put on the player's linear path with no hoops involved, rather than treating these things as a collectible. Unlike other Wario games, there are no collectibles in this one beyond in-game soundtracks, which in this day of YouTube you are never going to be in need of. The only collectible angle this game has is actually in its boss fights, which are all on timers, a couple of which can simply get fucked, as those bosses deliberately abuse the fact they're on a timer just to dick around the player. I'm looking at you, Cractus. Screw off. If you complete the boss fights with enough time on the clock, then additional treasures are sent to the final boss room to buff up your final score. To be absolutely fair on the part of the game, it's a totally doable part of the system. Out of the dozen additional treasures available, I came away with 9, only let down by the previously mentioned Cractus, who's currently in the timeout chair drooling on the floor. So it's not impossible, yet when this is the only collectible available in a previously completionist-built franchise, it can be a downside to a particular type of player Who was looking for something specific in this franchise that used to provide such a thing? And I cannot believe I'm a page into this review before getting to my personal bugbear with this game, especially since this problem has been on screen for around 4 to 5 minutes worth of footage. Whoever designed and kept greenlighting the design for Wario in this game should be slapped out of his office chair. Seriously, look at how screwed in the head the character design is for the protagonist of this video game. He looks like one of those ugly 90s action figures come to life, and watching him in action and animations, and especially the opening intro, is unsettling. This is not an aesthetically pleasing art choice, and I know that it'd be perfectly legitimate to say that Nintendo Handheld was going for an ugly design, but even then, there's an art to pulling off pleasing and ugly at the same time. If you need any proof of that, just look at Disney's Quasimodo before they inevitably reboot him in live action as well. If you need any proof that Wario looked 10 times better before, look at Wario Land 2 and 3, where he was more limited in graphical horsepower, yet looked perfectly passable as a main character. He used to look good, and now he looks like a mini troll who jammed his face full of tent pegs. Maybe I should be glad that you can defeat this title in less than 4 hours with that kind of face always on screen. If the artists had gone through a few more concept art drafts, they could have gotten something good out of their newfound artistic capabilities, as the grossness idea was passed around to the bosses as well, and it did add to the quality of their set pieces that you could see them drooling or giving ludicrous pained expressions when they took damage. So there was a potential there. It's just that you can't do that to the main character and expect it to not look silly at the best of times. Overall, Wario Land 4 was a dreadful shortfall of the developer's sky-high talents and failed to bring the greatness of the Wario license for its only game on the GBA. The limited playtime that you get for this game will bring insult to some and a total lack of replayability to all, as the levels are designed to go for contextless spectacle rather than having any consistency, and while some of the level's objectives are innovative and do make for some high points of the game, the overall feel of the game is mired in disappointment and knowing that the people behind this game have done better in the past. The gimmick of collecting broken boss keys gets grating after a couple backtracking sessions, and doesn't do anything substantial to fill out game time, with a title consisting of only 20 locales to look at. The controls of Wario are the stuff that we've come accustomed to throughout his Wario Land adventures, with nothing new to note and no standout changes in mechanics to give the game any variance from Wario Lands 2 and 3. It would have been nice to see a brand new type of adventure for Wario on a next-gen handheld console at the time, but unfortunately, the one that we got was a hastily built game of limited content and some dreadful design decisions that do not stack up to his previous ventures. I will say that it was admirable for the Nintendo Handheld team to wait until Wario's 6th or 7th game to start dropping the bar down past great, but if this becomes the norm later on down the line, then it really does showcase the reason why Wario's platformer days have not advanced past the early days of the Wii, and he's had to live on as an MC for a mind-boggling party game of nonsense. I'm not knocking the WarioWare games, even though they are not showing up in this review lineup, because I used to love the hell out of Mario Party, but it is a shame that we couldn't have had both, because as this series has proven, these creators do have that intelligent system styled talent at the core of their branch of the company, and it would have been nice to get that back. For now though, we'll finish up with a final scoreboard. And I will give you guys a well-deserved victory for gamers. Thanks for watching.